Our boomtown growth includes hotels, office space, and residential living space. That residential space is a big moneymaker, and we found more than a few developers willing to pay. Those fees are supposed to help the city provide affordable housing alternatives. But do they? If a city skyline could measure success, Austin towers high above most. But as the skyline has grown, so has the cost of living.
It's ridiculous.
Leaving many long-time, in some cases lifelong Austin residents shut out.
But to even find anything that's a one-bedroom efficiency is like between $9,000 and $1,000 in the city limits.
The dream of a comfortable life led Elijah Zuniga and his wife 50 miles northeast of Austin to Thorndale, an hour-long commute to the tiny Williamson County suburb. Elijah, an electrician, and his wife, a medical technician, both make decent money, but are not where they expected to be at the age of 30.
We're at the point now that we want a house, but even then we can't even afford to get a house because housing is so expensive.
They are among a growing middle-class population that feels Austin is increasingly out of reach.
Cost of living here has gone up so much faster than the actual ability to pay for it. That's why the city government and local governments need to make incentives to create affordable housing.
It turns out the city does. There are currently 12 programs designed to add more affordable housing. But increasingly, developers are paying a fee instead of creating affordable housing. In the last 15 years, residential developers of 54 projects have paid nearly $8.3 million in fees in lieu of providing affordable housing to the city. Most of those developments have fewer than 15% affordable units. 7 put in no affordable housing units at all. They include the developer of this building at the Domain, which paid the city $580,000. Aspen Heights paid more than $860,000 to avoid affordable units at this complex, now owned by the Wyndham. And the developer of the Independent paid nearly $2.5 million. Right now, the lowest price condo here goes for more than $500,000 and gets you less than 700 square feet.
It's a very difficult environment to provide affordable housing in.
Perry Lorenz is a real estate investor and developer working here for 42 years, helping build places like Spring and the Independent.
Downtown land prices have doubled in 3 or 4 years, in some cases tripled. Usually that takes generations.
He says that's why most developers choose to just pay the fee.
If you're moving somebody into something that costs $500 a square foot, it's a working class family that needs 3 bedrooms, they've got 4 kids. Do you want to put them in $1.5 million unit in a high-rise downtown, or do you want to go buy 4 or 5 times as many units in a neighborhood?
City council members agree it's a problem.
We have created so many roadblocks in creating affordable housing.
The fee and lieu program right now is too small.
Jimmy Flanagan of District 6 showed us around the latest affordable housing development in his district. It cost $30 million to build Lakeline Station. All 128 units are full, and so is the wait list.
The need is much greater than what the city and the market is able to provide.
One of the suggestions is to raise the fee developers pay. So I asked Lorenz if that would give developers more incentive to provide the affordable housing.
It would just simply be a higher fee attached with the development, which means you raise your prices.
Since 2015, the number of affordable housing units created have been dropping from 1,600 units in 2015 to just 661 last year.
Surprising, it's going down.
It's not something that the government alone can fix. It's also not something that private market alone will fix.
Last year, the city set a goal of creating 60,000 affordable housing units in the next 10 years.
It's going to be very difficult. We probably reach 10,000 in 10 years. Maybe 15.
The affordable housing we have on the ground today is more of a response to the smaller moves made 5 and 10 years ago. Developments don't happen overnight. You don't pass a land development code and immediately bulldozers are hitting the streets.
Voters also just passed a bond in 2018, dedicating $250 million to affordable housing.
It's also not true that you pass a bond and immediately that turns into affordable housing. We have hundreds of millions of dollars voter approved to build and land bank for affordable housing, and we are getting those dollars expended. We will see a lot more affordable housing hit the streets in the next 2, 3, 4, and 5 years.
Several new projects are in the approval and planning process now. but 10 more developers are set to pay another $12 million in fees instead of providing affordable housing. Not nearly enough to build another Lakeline station.
You want to get to an age where you live on your own, but you still can't afford to live on your own.
A long commute is likely to be the norm for a growing number of average families.
I got people coming from my company all the way from Seguin, live up in Killeen. One person that goes to my class, he works in Austin and he lives all the way in College Station.
The price of progress, but at whose price?
The proposed new land development code includes allowing developers to continue to pay the fee in lieu of providing affordable housing. The question remains whether those fees will increase and whether that will help the city create more affordable housing. You can see the developments where the fees have been paid or will be paid with this story at kview.com. Count on the KView Defenders to keep following the story. For the KView Defenders, I'm Terry Gruca.